Hello, how are you? We are back. We are doing another book club today. Be Holy for I Am Holy book club with Anne Catherine Emmerich's beautiful visions. And they are all authenticated by the Catholic Church. They have been accepted. In 2004, Pope Francis,
No,
Pope, what's his name? My
John
head.
Paul.
And
John Paul.
John Paul II. There you go. He okayed and beatified Anne Catherine Emmerich. So we're all very lucky to be able to read her book and all these little extra things that she saw
And it's
beyond what.
historically and doctrinally correct, according to the
Yes,
church.
yes. So today it's a short one, right, Hen?
Yes, thank God. Right?
Satan Tempts Jesus by Magical Arts. So if you want to start, Hen, you can.
Okay. Satan appeared to Jesus in the grotto as a magician and philosopher. He told him that he had come to him as to a wise man, and that he would show him that he too could exhibit marvels. Then he showed him hanging on his hand a piece of apparatus like a globe, or perhaps still more like a bird cage. Jesus would not look at the tempter, much less into the globe, as Satan desired, but turning his back on him, he left the grotto. I saw that a look into Satan's rare show disclosed the most magnificent scenes from nature, lovely pleasure gardens full of shady groves, cool fountains, richly laden fruit trees, luscious grapes, etc. All seemed to be within one's reach, and all was constantly dissolving into an ever more beautiful, more enticing scenes. Jesus turned his back on Satan and he vanished. This was another temptation to interrupt the fast of Jesus, who now began to thirst and to experience the pangs of hunger. Satan did not yet know what to think of him. He was aware, it's true, of the prophecies relating to him, and he felt that he exercised power over himself, but he did not know yet that Jesus was God. He did not know even that he was the Messiah whose advent he so dreaded. Since he beheld him fasting, hungering, enduring temptation, since he saw him so poor, suffering in so many ways, in a word, since he saw him in all things so like an ordinary man. In this, Satan was blind as the Pharisees. He looked upon Jesus as a holy man whom temptation might lead to a fall. So that is a beautiful reading. And I'm just going to go right on to the next because we'll discuss them all at the end in case you're just staying around for the reading. So let's continue. Okay, Jeanette?
Sounds good.
Okay. Satan tempts Jesus to turn stones into bread. Jesus was now suffering from hunger and thirst. I saw him several times at the entrance of the grotto. Toward evening one day, Satan, in the form of a large, powerful man, ascended the mountain. He had furnished himself below with two stones as long as little rolls, but square at the ends, which as he mounted, he molded into the perfect appearance of bread. There was something more horrible than usual about him when he stepped into the grotto to Jesus. In each hand, he held one of the stones, and his words were to this effect: "Thou art right not to eat of the fruit, for it only excites an appetite. But if thou art the beloved Son of God, over whom the Spirit came at baptism, Behold, I have made these stones look like unto bread. Do not change them. Do thou change them into bread. Jesus glanced not toward him, but I heard him utter these words only. Man lives not by bread. These were the only words that I caught distinctly. Then Satan became perfectly horrible. He stretched out his talons as if to seize Jesus, at which action I saw the stones resting on his arms and fled. I had to laugh at his having to take his stones off with him. I love that part. So that's the end. And before we start discussing, let me just talk about the next one when we're done. This one talks about Saint Michael. And oh my gosh, guys, you got to come back for the next one because it is all about the angels and Satan and the whole fighting up there. So make sure you come back for that one. So let's go back and discuss. Jeanette, what was your impression of this reading?
I still can't get over the fact that that Satan didn't know that it was the Son of God. So it was just very awesome how even though he didn't know that he was the Son of God, he still expected him to do these amazing miracles, which means to me that holy,
Good point.
like Saint John the Baptist, and we read the stories of Padre Pio and all these other saints that have done
And Peter.
Yes, that have done miraculous things and have made miracles, and a lot of them we don't even know about.
Because remember when they said that Peter's shadow, they would have healings just from him walking by?
Yes, but they weren't there bragging about what they were doing.
Right.
The only reason we know of what Jesus did is because God wanted it that way. He wanted us to know the miracles that Jesus did. And I feel like, wow, so holy people do have the gift of healing in their touch, and they have these beautiful gifts that God gives them because of their faith.
And healing masses. If you've ever had a trauma, I'm telling you, healing masses, you just have to search and find them. Different churches will do it. You could just call up your diocese and say, are there any healing masses? There were a lot in South Florida that my mother and I went to, and they actually brought Padre Pio's glove and we touched it. And one priest told my daughter, he was a healing priest, and he came and he put his hands on Elizabeth, and he said that Saint Nicholas was one of her patron saints. And I'm telling you, Christmas is always very special for her because of that, I think. So yeah, you're right. And when you think about it, Jeanette, remember Peter, it says in the shadow, and that the healings that he was doing right after, but what was it, Jeanette? It was after they got the Holy Spirit that happened, right?
Actually, when Peter would walk through the crowd of people, they would just fall on just his shadow, and they would get instantly healed of their ailments. So, they were wanting to just touch his shadow, and that was enough. So that was powerful.
After he took wasn't it after that they were given the Holy Spirit?
I can't remember. I don't think it was at that time. I think it was at a different time.
I thought it was after Christ already ascended, and then he gave them each the flame. And I thought it was after that. I think we need to look into that.
I'll look that up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to look into that because when
And-
we get our communion and our confirmation,
Yeah.
I think it gives us
Yeah.
more of the supernatural graces.
I can't do it on my phone right now because I'm
It's
actually
okay.
taping on my phone.
Well, if you give me if you look, it'll take me a while to get this up anyway. If you look and find a link, but make sure it's a Catholic link so that we can make sure that we are giving
Well,
correct.
yeah, we just have to key in Google where in the Bible does, as Peter and the disciples walk by, their shadow heal the people, or
Yeah.
their shadows alone are holy, and I'm sure we'll find it.
Yeah. So, so anyway, I just really, I liked this so much because, if you notice, we're supposed to do as Christ does. And what does he do when Satan tempts him? He gets away from him. And that's what we have to do when we have temptations. We got to turn our head. What does Jesus do? He wouldn't even look at the temptation.
Wow, yeah.
So imagine that. And we have to ask God to give us that grace to do as Christ did, because we cannot fight evil alone. We need him. That's why that monastery, they're always walking around, Jeanette. They're moving their mouths. And I watched a whole documentary, and they're constantly saying that Jesus prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Over and over, just like whispering it as they're doing their handiwork, like you're doing your handiwork right now. Their mouths are constantly saying it to themselves. They're not saying it out loud, but constantly to themselves. It's like a meditative, constantly over and over that same Jesus prayer, unceasingly. So I just thought that was a good place to put that in there. So yeah, here Jesus didn't know, like you said. It is fascinating. Now let's go to this next part, the next one. He came to him when he was fasting. That's the other thing. And that it's saying here that Satan was as blind as the Pharisees. We can go to church all we want. We can do all those things like the Pharisees. But if we are sinning, it blocks our ability to see truth. So we really have to work so hard at being holy. And how do we do that? Prayer, 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 prayer. It really is all about prayer. So the next one is, sorry about my computer. I ordered a new thing for it. But anyway, so here is where Satan tempts Jesus to turn stones into bread. Jeanette, what did you think about that?
Yeah, this is one of the times that I thought, my gosh, he's expecting a holy man to turn stone into bread, because he didn't think he was the son of God.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty powerful.
And Jeanette, I don't know how many NDEs you watch. I know you watch some, but I watch so many of them, and they often come back healed, and they often come back with abilities to be healing in their own lives and for others. So our mind is so much more powerful than we think. And the more holy we are, the more we know that where that power is coming from. We have to be careful looking for power. It cannot be for our ego. It must be for bringing people to Christ, for healing,
For the glory of God, always.
The glory of God, yes.
Everything we do in our lives should be done thinking for the glory of God. That's why every little task that we do, it doesn't matter if it's just sweeping the floor, we got to give it our 100%, and we have to do it with love. That's what Little Flower always said. She said, every little thing you do it with a lot of love. And that's so important.
I just listened to a book by one of our favorites, one of my favorites, Dwight Longenecker, because we did our spiritual warfare rosary.
Like him.
Yeah, and it's his memoir of how he became from a Protestant to an Anglican priest to a Catholic priest. And he talked all about his conversion. And you just said something that it made me think of it. What was it? Oh, the little flower. He he went over there and he had so many supernatural things happen. The little flower came to him. He met Mother Teresa, and one of Jeanette's very favorites. He actually met her, and he gives his whole conversion story, and he talks about the little flower. He looked at her the way I did. I'm like, oh, please. Oh, she's a girl and she has flowers. And I just thought of it as so trite and so silliness. But when he went through his thing, because I love Saint Teresa of Avila. She's very serious, very academic. And the little flower one, oh, she's, but they say we come as the child and we come as simple, and her little elevator in her little way. And, you know, and I'm looking at the flowers and it seems so silly. He was doing that same thing, that snobbery, that where I was coming from. Because you know me, I intellectualize. And Jeanette, you're different. You are more, you know, you're more like that, more like the little way, you know, and I'm miss intellectualize everything, which is not, you don't get closer to God. It's important to do reading, like, the way we're doing, but you can't intellectualize. It has to be the head and the heart. Remember Jesse Romero, the head and the heart? You're the heart, I'm the head, but we both gotta
Yeah,
develop
you need a both. You need it with moderation, because
a
you
balance.
need both. You can't just be all heart and no head.
Right.
But then you head and no heart.
Right.
So that's why we need to learn from our saints and to be like them, because they were human. They were human. Yes. I mean, if they can do it, we can surely do it. So they like strengthen us. Yes. And we find a saint that's like us.
And we ask them to intercede.
Yes. And we ask them to help us be like them so that we can be holier. Yeah. Oh, yes. So this little stone thing, of course, this is about fasting, and we're going to be coming up on when is Lent coming? Let's see. Lent 2024. I know I saw it. It starts February 14th. So it's February 14th till March 28th with an evening mass on Holy Thursday. Yeah, so wait, that says Christian. Let me make sure it's Catholic. Hold on. Lent Catholic. Yeah, February 14th to March 28th. Yeah, so when he was talking about this, I was thinking of the whole Lent thing and temptation and, turning to bread. And what does he say? That we don't live just by bread, and that's why people do a lot of fasting at that time. And I thought it was interesting how that's when he comes toward us, when we are denying ourselves something. And so we really have to, it's like a muscle. You have to, I'm going to put links below on everything we talked about. I meant to say that earlier with, some of the stuff that we just talked about. And now for this stuff too, we have to increase our muscle to deny ourselves. And you just start little. You start by saying, okay, I'm not going to have dessert, or I'm not going to buy something, whatever it is that you use as a vice, try to deny yourself little by little by little. And during Lent, we do it a little bit more. Maybe have no dessert the whole Lent. Like if, this
If you're into the pumpkin, no pumpkin. If you're into chocolate, you know, whatever it is, my daughter used to give up chocolate every year. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't like chocolate. Yeah, so it's like, you know, make it mean something, you know, like suppose your favorite is, you know, potato chips, you know, and you eat them every week. You know, it has to also be something that you do. Don't say, oh, I only have potato chip once a year, but I love them, so I'm going to give those up. No, it has to be something significant. So I think it's interesting that this is, you know, coming and we're getting ready to go into that.
Yeah,
So
what I always think about with that is the first fruits.
yeah,
The first fruits we got to give.
charitableness.
We got to give to others what we would be giving God, which is the first fruits. Not something that we can do without, but something we can't do without. Something
Right.
that's significant to us. That's very important. And also, remember Cain and Abel?
Mm-hmm.
Remember how God took one, was it Cain or was it Abel's? I always get them confused. He took one of them as offerings, but not the other one. Why was?
Mm,
Because it wasn't the first fruits. It
right.
was what
It
he
has to mean something. Yeah.
first fruits is first fruits is the best.
Right.
Mary, if you see all the
Cream of the
times,
crop.
yes, yes, and all the previous readings we've read of Mary while she was growing up, and Anne, you know, Anne and Joachim, how they always gave their cattle the best to the poor, then the church, then they kept whatever was left over. Remember?
Right. Right. And that's important.
Yeah.
So I like this end here, how it says, I had to laugh at his having to take his stones with him. I like that. I thought that was funny. I love the way she adds little tidbits like that of herself, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
And Emmerich, yeah, she's so cute. You know, I just love her with her little head, you know, she's with the
Little
bleeding up there, like, you know.
from her headaches.
Yeah. I wonder, well, also, isn't it from the crown? Is it's bleeding from the crown, right?
Yeah.
That's what I like at, like almost like Padre Pio with the hand, you know, the bleeding
And
hand.
she had at a point all the stigmatas, but then
Oh yeah,
ended up with only one, which was the crown.
right. Which I like that because it's a little different than just, you know, than the hand. So, but anyway, yeah, I love how she adds just little things in there of her, like, you know, that she had to laugh. You know, that's just kind of funny. And let me just say one more. It's that thou art right not to eat the fruit, for it only excites an appetite. But if thou art the beloved Son of God, over whom the Spirit came at baptism, behold, I have made these stones look unto bread. They speak so weird. And then it says, do thou change them into bread? He's trying to say, okay, come on. Like he's tempting him. And, you know, we tempt ourselves with the appetite. So when I go into the grocery store and I'm like, okay, you know, I love ice cream and I'm thinking about it all day. I'm like, oh, when I go to the store, I'm gonna, no, I won't even I'm not going to think of it. I'm not going to walk by the ice cream. As Jesus does, I'm turning my head. And if I don't buy it and it's not in my fridge, I'm not going to eat it. So you have to find little ways to deny yourself those kinds of things, you know, because ice cream is a weakness for me. Ice cream and bread. Oh my gosh, when he talks
Yeah.
about bread.
Yeah.
Oh, and French bread. Oh,
Crazy about ice cream.
you're not?
The Argentine pastries, that's my weakness right there.
Hmm. Yeah.
Those, those pastries from that Argentine
Yeah, I
bakery.
love pastries too. Don't mistake it. I love pastries. Anyway, okay, and then so let's just look. Come on, guys, come back for next one because this is going to be he actually talks about Saint Michael. So, and the military dress of Saint Michael. She actually talks about him. So,
Gonna be
um,
good.
yeah, it's like it's gonna be a good one next time. So please make sure you come back. We're getting closer to the wedding at Cana, guys. So we're moving along here. So we're gonna see you next time. Anything else, Jeanette, we want to say?
No, we just need to be careful with the temptations now that Christmas is over.
Yeah,
You know, we need to get back on track because
yeah.
we
And
overspent.
exercise. That's so hard for me.
I'm sure that we overspent too. You
Yeah.
know, I have a lot of, like, my daughter Gabriella. I get her gifts just because
Yeah, I
I
do
get,
that with my daughter.
but
Yeah.
they're not like gifts. But I still get them for them because of the fact that, I feel bad not getting it for them because then I get it for everybody else. I like to treat everybody the same, but I
Well,
end up
this
getting those
year,
back, and when we get the gifts back, I like to give them away to people that don't get gifts, like, so I just give it to you just donate them.
well, we don't have any more kids in our family that are little now because my son and his wife are divorcing, so we don't have her. That's why I hate getting attached to someone else's kids because I don't get to see them anymore. But in any case, I told my kids, and it started this year, that I will not. I meant to take a picture before because I wrapped them all. I only gave everyone the Gospel of John, the sacred, what we do, and I put on the thing. It's called Catholic Commentary, the sacred thing. My grandson had asked me to get him the Revelations one, so he already had that one. So this one, because the Gospel of John is my favorite for love, so I gave it to all of them. That's what I gave them. And then but because my son and his wife, my younger son and his wife, I don't want to give them both the same book. So I gave her the Acts of Apostles. She is a huge reader like I am. And so she was excited that she gets to have both between having my son's Gospel of John and then the Acts of Apostles in the Catholic commentary because she studies a lot and she has a bunch of Catholic girls and they do like you do with your studies. You do all your Bible study. She's constantly doing that. All her and her friends, they do that.
Oh, good.
And so she was so excited. So I told them, it's Jesus's birthday. So I will not be getting you gifts anymore. That will be for your birthdays. But for Jesus's birthday, it will be Jesus related. What I got my daughter's boyfriend and my grandson. So my grandson got two gifts. He got the Gospel of John and he got the Terror of Demons, which my daughter's boyfriend was like, "Oh no, not another book. Someone, everyone's getting our books. They've been getting a lot of books." So I said, "Oh no, you're not gonna like your present. It's a book."
Oh
And I
no.
said, "Oh no." So he got it, and it's all about, he already has his communion confirmation and all that, but he's going back for RCIA now. He's been in the program. Like my daughter met him after he was already in his RCIA. She met him in adoration, which she believes it is divine. That's why she's like, yeah, he's the one. And they're already talking about all that and they're already planning. But the point is that he was already doing that so he's been getting books but they're like Matthew Kelly and that kind of stuff, more simple. This is a little bit more, and it's about Saint Joseph and being a husband and being a father, everything he is, the terror of demons. So he looked at it and he's like, wow, this is actually a book I'm excited to get. And I was like, oh, good. I said, and Elizabeth said, Mom, he wouldn't have said that unless he meant it. So that really made me happy, you know. So
Good.
yep, gifts these now are not going to be just, it's going to be your birthday or just gifts because if I'm going to buy something in between, but it's not going to be related to Christmas for me and my family. I'm not saying that's right for everyone, but that's what I'm doing now because we have no more little kids. I said, when we have kids, I'll give gifts to them. And my son said, Mom, that's what I always expected. He said, I don't like you to spend money. I know you don't have it right now. He said, so I'm glad. And he's like, you know me with the books though. And I said, I know, but I want you to have this because it's the Gospel of John. It's the book. And each year I'm going to give them a book. Like next year, I'm going to give them Revelation, except my grandson. I'll give him Acts of Apostles. So I'm going to have to keep track of who got what, because I want every year, by the time I leave this earth, they're going to have at least a quarter of that series, because it's the most important series. It's going to be God related. So
Okay,
that's
see you
it.
next time.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my thing to let me, oh no. I'm trying to get my thing to let me stop recording. Oh no. I'm having so much trouble with this computer. That's why. I think I can edit this off because I can't get it to let go of this window. Okay, so let's see. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Have a great week.